Welcome back to the True Body Intelligence Podcast. I'm Christopher Lee Maher, and I'm your host. And today, we're going to get into a system that I call Ma-Xing, which means horse stomping, meaning people use their feet to be able to increase the health of your tissue and remove all the discomfort and pain sitting inside the middle of your structural tissues. So this will be educational and hopefully inspirational.
So we're back for another part of this episode, and this time we're going to talk about Ma-Xing.
Ma-Xing, you got it right. Most people say mashing, like mashing grapes, or once they experience, they think it's like mashing grapes.
For once, my accent played a positive role.
Yes,
in
it was very nice.
something.
Ma-Xing.
Ma-Xing.
Yeah.
How is this different? And I don't mean it as a tongue-in-cheek. I actually am asking because what you're describing it in general is that you basically people step on you in a particular way. How is this different than, let's say, a Swedish massage?
The reason why this is different is because we're covering, let's put it this way, Swedish massage is nice for the upper body, right? But they're never going to be able to generate enough force to create enough potential change for you because the fingers and the elbows, they're too pointy. And when they're that pointy, it puts too much pressure on the nerve, right? And so then the muscle's never really relaxing as you're driving into it with that much force. But when we're using the foot, the length of the foot and the width of the foot allow for the pressure to be more even. And we use a specific kind of rhythm. So we're going over the same tissue again and again and again and again. So let's say it was the forearm, for instance, right? We're going to move from top to bottom, and then from bottom to top over and over and over and over and over and over and over till that tension in there really surrenders, right? But the big thing for people to understand about Ma-Xing is it's something that you're receiving. You know, I'm the type of person where there's codependency, there's dependency, and there's hyper-independence. And then there's interdependence, which is the high-functioning expression of those three states. I'm the type of person that's more into independent types of systems because I want to be self-reliant. And so having someone work on me and that determined my development felt like too much power to hand over to someone. So I always wanted systems like we talked about in our last episode, Bestersize, because now I can do it when I want, how I want, for however long I want. There's no one to hire. There's nothing else to do. So it's very easy for me to be able to tune into something like Bestersize. Ma-Xing means that now I need to recruit another person to come over and help me. And so in the True Body Intelligence system, I like working with couples, and I like working with either mother-son combinations, father-daughter combinations, because I know these people are in the same household, and they're going to be able to help each other. And so the Ma-Xing allows them to address their tissue health versus their structural health. And what I started to analyze and figure out really quickly is that the development of my body in terms of the structural health was limited by the health of my individual tissues. So I wanted to put all my energy and effort into independent studies, independent systems. And then eventually I needed help. So got one of my buddies, came over, did some Ma-Xing on me. And then I saw the next day when I did my Bestersize, I got into the positions much deeper, and I had access to much more force and much more stability. So then I said, aha, tissue health versus structural health. I'm limiting myself in my way of thinking. And then once I realized that, I recruit as many of my friends as possible, basically just to walk all over me and find every single place in my body where I had pain. And to keep walking on me again and again till there was literally no discomfort. And then when I did my best exercises on my own, I was getting 10 times the result because those individual tissues were more healthy. So when we're doing the Ma-Xing or you're receiving the Ma-Xing, you're now inviting someone else into your story, which for people is really vulnerable. Like, who wants to let someone into their pain? Think about that. Who's really going to invite someone into the middle of their pain? Well, you're going to...
Almost nobody, yeah.
Yeah, mostly no one, right? So it's like, well, that's my pain. Let me keep that over there. I'll compartmentalize that. And where I have pleasure, I'll highlight those parts of my life. But eventually, if you're in the game of true transformation and super growth, and you're in the super potential, you realize that that's a limiting belief. And then what you have to do is you have to invite people into your pain. And when you invite people into your pain, you have the potential opportunity for that pain to turn into comfort, and then potentially for that pain to turn into pleasure. And so when you're receiving Ma-Xing or you're giving Ma-Xing, the first step, the first goal is to get someone to neutrality. Because I could care less if anyone experiences pleasure. What I care is that they get to neutrality. And if they get to neutrality, they have no pleasure, they have no pain, but at least they have no pain. And if they want to find pleasure, then they can take the things that I taught them and they can find someone else who will get them to those states. But my real first goal with anyone is to simply get them to neutrality. Because in neutrality, you add nothing, you take nothing away, you simply seeing actual account of what is occurring. And so there's a theme that I revisit in every one of our episodes, and every part within that episode is the importance of getting back to neutrality. And so all of these systems, they fit together. It's kind of like if you were, we're in LA, so let's say you were a costume designer, right? And this movie's a period piece, and it's a movie like, a movie somewhat like Braveheart, okay? Well, you're never going to dress the person on the top with clothes from Scotland in the 1500s and then on the bottom put Gucci jeans on them.
I mean, that would be a fun movie.
It would be a fun, interesting movie to watch. Yet it would be very strange for us to buy into the idea that this is actually 1532. And so the body works that way too. You want systems that actually fit together. And so when you're looking at the body, you have to go, oh, there's different layers. Okay, so this layer takes care of this. This system takes care of this layer. That system takes care of that layer. And each one of these systems affect all the other systems. And each one of these layers affect all these other layers. So that your body, from the skin all the way down to the center of the bones, is fluid, strong, stable, and flexible. Also healthy and minus any level of discomfort, excessive tension, and pain. And so I always tell people that discomfort and pain are the last indicators that something is wrong, that something's moving in the wrong direction. The last. So when any athlete gets injured, they think like, oh, if I just didn't step here, I wouldn't have had that injury. The reality is you have that injury is because all the surrounding tissue below that joint and above that joint were unhealthy. And if you address the tissue health, then what happens is all the other tissues, the harder tissues like joint tissue, they stay healthy too. And so Ma-Xing is a way to begin to help the physical body, yet more importantly, it helps you deal with the emotional body. And the question is, well, how does it do that? And so, in order for your body to let go of pain and you're sitting here with me now. I have no idea how old you are. How old are you?
41.
You're 41, right? So for 41 years, you've been accumulating a lot of stuff, right? Now, if we laid you on the ground and we start doing the Ma-Xing, you, like every other person, is going to find like some serious discomfort. And then I'm going to guide you. I'm going to coach you on how to be able to work with that. And the question is, what system do we have to access? Well, you need some information to understand that. So the physical body is about position, movement, and instinct, but the emotional body is about emotions, feelings, and breath. And so if I have two people, I lay them down, both of them, their discomfort is a 10 out of 10, okay? And one is breathing at a rate of 10, and the other one is breathing at a rate of 1, so we hardly even hear them breathe, right? Or they might, even worse, they might be like a -1. They're holding their breath, right? Right? They're in this reactive state, and then you're in this proactive state where you're breathing. You're letting out all this discomfort out of your breath, out of your emotional body. What's going to happen for the guy on the left who's breathing relative to his true level of sensation versus the guy on the right who his breath is well under his true level of physical sensation? One is going to find a difficult time to transform. I'm going to reframe that. One is going to find it very difficult to transform that discomfort into comfort, that pain into pleasure. And the other one, it's going to happen a lot faster. And the question is why? So the way the body works is this. When you have unresolved emotions, feelings, okay? For instance, you're 7 years old, your brother is 9, he's jealous that you got a red fire truck. When you go to bed that night after Christmas, he takes your fire truck and he hides it in the attic, right? You come down in the morning, you have all these feelings, you can't find your red truck, you're upset, you're bothered, you're crying, your mom comes out, where's your truck? You go to brother Billy. I think Billy had it, Mama. I think he did something with my red truck. And you're like, Billy, she's like, Billy, where's your red truck? Oh, I'm going to take all your Christmas presents. And so then Billy says, oh, I know where the red truck is. Maybe it's in the attic. I don't know. Maybe somebody put it up there. She goes up, she brings the red truck down, she gives it to you, but then you remember to never trust your brother. That if you get something special, he's always going to hide it or steal it from you, right? So now, you find it difficult to have a emotionally honest relationship with your brother when it comes to your things. So he's like, how are you doing? You're like, I'm great. And he goes, I heard you got a new job. And you're like, yeah, I got a new job. It's like, I heard they're paying you a lot of money. Did you buy a new car? I don't know if I want to talk about my car. So now you withhold because you're worried at a subconscious level. That little child inside of you, right? Little Danny, he's thinking, I can't tell my brother I got a new car. He may come up and steal this thing. So you're thinking, hey, my brother Billy, he might take or steal my car or hide it on me. So now you start to withhold, right? Well, you're 41 years old and this happens when you're 29. So you have this subconscious memory of your brother taking things from you that didn't belong to him, then hiding them from you. And so you interpret that anything that I have that's of value to me, that's exciting, he might take. And so now here you are, a rational minded adult, right? You're an attorney who is able to think clearly for himself, and yet this precognitive aspect of your mind buried deep in your subconscious body is informing you to never let your brother know, and you get a new shiny red car, okay? So now we got you on the ground, we're working on the back of your legs, and guess what comes up? Pain, discomfort, right? Because when you arrived here at 41 years old, and I laid you down for Ma-Xing, did all the pain that I'm stepping into now arrive in that moment? Or Was it accumulated over your entire life?
Accumulated over life, of course.
It was accumulated over your entire life. And what's actually in there is unresolved emotional stress and strain and confusion and upset and bother. So when we get in there, we're doing the Ma-Xing on the back of your legs from top to bottom, then if you access your breath, what's going to happen? You're going to be shedding and letting go of these old unresolved emotions. Why? Because the breath controls the emotional body. The breath is the doorway. So now you're on the left, your buddy's on the right. He's holding his breath, remember that. You're both a 10 out of 10. You're breathing relative to true level sensation. And guess what? Every few minutes you're going from a 10 to a 9 to an 8 to a 7 to a 6 to a 5. And your buddy on the right, guess what's happening to him? He's holding his breath, or he's hardly breathing. He's laying there like a mummy.
Gets worse.
Right? No.
No.
Actually what happens, because he's holding his breath or hardly breathing, it disallows him to feel the full impact of what's there. Right? So now you're a 10 out of 10 at the beginning, but you're breathing. He's a 10 out of 10 and he isn't breathing, right? So what do you think is going to happen when he starts breathing?
That's what I'm saying. It feels like it would go higher first.
It's going to go higher,
yeah.
Right? And then once he accesses that, right, now it's going to have an opportunity to go lower because he's being emotionally honest. He's letting me and you in the room witness him in his pain. If you're willing to be witnessed in your pain, your body's willing to let go of it, right? If you're willing to hide, your body's willing to keep it. And so Ma-Xing serves many functions. One, it gives us a clue of what you're holding on to. Two, it lets us know whether or not you're an internal or an external processor, right? Internal processors hold on to more pain. External processors let go of more pain. So that means that they're more comfortable letting people into their insecurities and their inner deficiencies. They're more comfortable in a position of vulnerability. But people who are holding on to things and hiding them and compartmentalizing and stuffing them away and pushing them down, it's much more difficult for them to access a feeling of freedom through the process of being vulnerable, honest, and transparent. So Ma-Xing forces every single person that receives the work to get into an intense state of receptivity. Because you can only be receptive when you're open. Well, if my breath is closed, am I receptive? No, I'm closed. If my breath is closed, can I allow the excessive emotional stress and strain trapped inside of all of my physical structural tissues to have an opportunity to let go? No, it's an impossibility. So now, what do I want to do? I want to motivate you through the process of Ma-Xing to allow you to learn how to breathe relative to what you're actually feeling in the moment, whether it's comfortable or it's uncomfortable. What advantage does that give me? That turns on the intelligence in my emotional body relative to what I'm actually feeling. So now we've gone through the Ma-Xing process. You've gone from pure pain down to neutrality, and now your girlfriend says, hey, I want to go visit my mom in Florida. So now hop on a plane, you're in Miami, and suddenly you see all the bags coming out, and now you don't see your bag. And you can start to feel a little tension start to come into your body, like, and then you remember, oh, I'm starting to get tense. What am I going to do? Oh, let me take a deep breath. Your lady looks over and she's like, Danny, you look a little stressed. Babe, I don't see my bag. Just take a couple more breaths. It's here, I promise you. I can feel it. And then, oh, your bag comes out. Okay, we're good. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You had that 4 minutes where you didn't see your bag, and now you've taken that little bit of tension into the taxi. You get to the Airbnb or the hotel, or if you're staying at her mom's place, and now you have some agitation in your system. Well, why you have that agitation? Because you were never self-aware enough to be able to be receptive enough to locate what's going on inside of you that's causing agitation. And without you being able to recognize that, you're never able to take heartfelt action to your own benefit. So now your body's more tense. And now your lady has to come up to you like, hey, you don't seem like you're being yourself. You're like, oh, I just need a couple minutes by myself. I'll be totally fine, right? You go back into your own hyper-independent state of processing your emotions and hiding your feelings of upset. And even though that seems like a little thing, imagine adding up 10 of those instances up over a month. And then do that for 10 months, and do that for 10 years, and do that for 10 decades. And then eventually you have so much tension and stress in your system that's unresolved that you have a body full of discomfort and pain. And so Ma-Xing is a way to take your physical body and get it emotionally present. And now if I'm emotionally present, whatever's coming into me, now I can tell. Because if I take a cup and I fill it up with coffee to the top, or I would fill it up with water to the top. So there's no suggestion for you to drink coffee. So I would fill it up to the top. Well, if somebody comes by and takes a sip, and I have my head turned, can I tell if somebody took a sip of my water? No. But if my cup is empty and you put in even a drop, I can tell that that drop exists. You see? Mm. And so now I'm self-aware. I'm self-aware of what? Of how the external world is impacting me emotionally. And now I can say to my lady after dinner, babe, can we do throw on a movie, do 15, 20 minutes of Ma-Xing? And she'll go, sure. Are you going to do it for me too? And you're like, yeah, gladly. And then all of a sudden, she moshes you, you mosh her, you go to bed, you feel great. Why? Because you're no longer taking Wednesday's circumstance into Thursday.
So what you're really teaching in Ma-Xing is how to not react, but how to be in the state of this released daily and monthly and yearly and annual and decade pain versus the actual mashing of it.
Yeah, the Ma-Xing is irrelevant. What's most important is the experience of your comfort, your discomfort, your pain, your pleasure, or that state of neutrality. Because once you reach a state of neutrality, anything that comes inside of you that is irrelevant to who you are or where you're going, you're aware of it. Well, without getting back to neutrality, anything that's coming in, you're unaware that it's inside because you've grown so used to being constrained that you have no idea what it feels like to be at peace. Mm. And so we got to get that first chunk of stress out of your system. And now you consciously can choose to operate the way that you want. But without conscious awareness, you are without choice. And so true body intelligence, all the systems, and Ma-Xing, Bestersize, to name a couple of them, they give you the opportunity to be at choice where you're choiceless. Because now you have the data, you have the information about what's actually going on inside of your body. And then once you know that, well, guess what? You get motivated. Motivated to do what? Motivated to extract it. Because now you know what it feels like to feel good all day, every day. Well, if you have no idea what it feels like to feel good all day, every day, why would you be motivated to do something you know nothing about? Otherwise, it's only a mental construct. It's a concept, right? Like you can get on the internet right now and you can find a lot of concepts. Everyone's got like a great saying, right? There's millions of them out there. And they're motivational. We recognize them. We're like, oh, wow, that's a cool thing to say, right? Well, what if you could find a cool way to be? That's a whole different story now. Because now, when I'm in being, when I'm open, when I'm empowered, when I'm sober, when I'm decisive, when I'm clear, when I'm happy, when I'm humorous, when I'm passionate, see, being. Now I've got access to consistent, happy, joyful, high-functioning feelings. And now that's infectious. It affects everything I touch. You become Midas. Everything you touch turns to gold.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So we have Westersize, which is the you versus you. And then you have Ma-Xing, which is other people working on you and you learn how to be in that state. What is there like a next step? Is there like a combination of these two or some other?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's always a next step,
Okay.
right? In this system. But for me, the next step really is ICE-centric Strength, which is ICE-strength. Because what we're talking about, isometric, concentric, and eccentric strength at maximal contractions, right? Maximal force, maximal change. Oof, that's powerful. Because it means I can do what? I can choose how powerful I want to become relative to how much force I choose to use. And now I get to do something else. I get to invite someone else into my story, which means now they get to feel where I'm weak. They get to feel where I'm disconnected. Ooh, wow, do most people want to do that? No, it's frightening for people. For someone to see and feel you where you're weak and where you're disconnected. And I've worked with the best athletes in the world. And believe it or not, when I first arrived, oh, you won't believe how weak they are, right? But then after I see them 4 or 5 times, you can barely move them. That's how powerful these men are. And we're only talking about a handful of contractions, right? A handful of repetitions. And they become so powerful in the world. So
we talked about the Westersize, which is what you do with yourself, and then we have Ma-Xing, which is what other people do with you and how you relate to that and how you be in that state. What would be the third one that completes the trilogy here?
Well, I mean, now that's a big secret. I'm only BSing. The next step really is getting into ICE-centric Strength, really, so you can access maximal force. Because with maximal force comes maximal change. And anybody who's into true transformation understands, one, there's the limitation of time on this planet, right? Things construct and they deconstruct. And once you get over a certain age, your body is deconstructing, right? It's denaturing. So how do I reinforce my body's ability to fight back against that deterioration? Well, ICE-centric Strength is the key. So I think what's important for you to really think about when we talk about the next step of what we're going to get into is the potential for maximal change, right? Well, in order to have maximal change, you have to be able to access maximal force. And in True Body Intelligence, we have a system that we call ICE-centric Strength. ICE, isometric, concentric, isometric, concentric, and eccentric contractions, accessing maximal force in hundreds of different positions to give you the greatest shot of expressing your full potential at a physical, at a mental, at emotional, at a spiritual level. And that for me is very exciting. Just the idea that that could happen on this planet in this time feels really good. Feels good to share about it, feels good to experience it, and I'm motivated to get into it. So we'll see you sometime down the road pretty soon. Tune in. You're never going to want to miss out on this one. Thank you for tuning in to today's content. This will be made available in its full form of everything we put together for you at truebodyintelligence.com. And at truebodyintelligence.com, you can tune into my book, Free for Life, a U.S. Navy SEAL's unique journey to inner freedom and outer peace. And there I will teach you at a much deeper level. And this will be really, really, really good reference tool for you. Plus, the audiobook has an opportunity to allow you to start the program already by purchasing the one with the energetic integrations, and that will help you get started. All of this content will also be available on all major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, and YouTube.